Please, gentlemen, leave the scene now. Oh, Mr. Holmes, is that you?
Good evening, Constable...
Constable Marrow. I was here with Inspector Aberline during the Ripper case, Mr. Holmes, back in '88. But then this is nothing like that case. With this one, we've got the murderer, the weapon, and the statements, which speak for themselves.
Of course, Marrow. But you know that appearances can sometimes be deceiving. Who were the victims?
The two men here, both shot. The stab fellow was Brian Vercotti, a well-known ruffian. The other, Kenneth Butler, a jeweller by trade.
You spoke of statements. You have witnesses?
Well, I was there, so I gave my own statement. And then there were two other witnesses who said they saw the killer Chapman. Mr. Turner, a gentleman who lives in that flat over there. And Polly Powell, a flower seller, who was over at the far side of the street.
So, Constable Marrow, I should be delighted to hear your testimony.
I was standing at the north side of Half Moon Street. That was the side that you came from.
But you would have been unable to observe this part of the street, where we are standing now.
That is correct. But I saw the two victims slowly enter Half Moon Street, and then shortly after, the fireworks started. A few minutes after that, the fellow Chapman rushed towards me and ran into Half Moon Street.
Please continue.
I didn't pay attention, but suddenly I heard a woman's cries and police whistles on the other side of Half Moon Street. I rushed over there and I saw the two dead bodies on the ground. When I reached Whitechapel Street, I saw Leighton Chapman. He'd been caught by two police constables.
Did you hear the shots?
I didn't hear any shots. The fireworks were all over the sky. They were so loud I couldn't hear anything else.
What were the fireworks in honor of, Constable?
Well, today's Queen Victoria's birthday, Mr. Holmes.
Yes, I appear to have lost track of the days. It is May now, of course. Constable Marrow, what else caught your attention while you were running through Half Moon Street?
I saw nothing but rats, and I took the time to light every corner with my lamp.
Did you happen to look up at Mr. Turner's window when you were on Half Moon Street at that time?
Yes, I saw that the window was open, but no one was there. It was dark in the room.
Constable, your statements have been of great value to me. A piece of wood that has stuck between the cobblestones. Let us take a closer look. This shard of wood is quite new. The bullet struck his head. This man didn't stand a chance. This is an ordinary key. I wonder what kind of door it opens. He tried to stop the bleeding with his hand. Death was not instant. The bullet penetrated his stomach, a dreadful wound. A tattoo from Westgate Prison. Vercotti must have done some time there. Brian Vercotti suffered greatly. What a terrible way to die.
It would be my pleasure to assist you with your investigation, Mr. Holmes.
A fairly long pole with a forked end. A fairly long... Locked. 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 Good evening, Mr. Turner.
I heard Constable Marrow reply to you as Mr. Holmes. Are you that detective gentleman? I've heard of you. And well, I know things about this evening.
Excellent. Might we hear your story? Could you tell us everything that you may have seen or heard?
I was already in bed when the fireworks started. A few moments after, I clearly heard 2 gunshots from outside.
Please continue.
I quickly got up and I grabbed a lamp from my nightstand and I rushed towards the window. I looked down and I saw 2 bodies. And there was a man with a gun who was standing nearby.
Where exactly?
Well, near this body.
Did he notice you?
I don't think so. He rushed towards Whitechapel Street without looking around.
Mr. Turner, did you see anyone else in the street?
No, I saw no one but that man, the murderer, the fellow they caught.
Were the 2 shots you heard consecutive?
Yes, there was a very short pause between them, and they sounded different somehow. It seemed to me that the second shot was louder than the first.
That is an interesting comment. Mr. Turner, what were your actions after you stepped up to the window?
I was afraid that the man with a gun might return, so I stayed close to the window till I saw the policeman coming in the Half Moon from Whitechapel. Then I walked out to tell them everything I saw.
You have helped us a great deal, Mr. Turner.
It would be my pleasure to assist you with your investigation, Mr. Holmes.
Mr. Holmes, did you see my brother at Scotland Yard? Is he all right?
Mrs. Powell?
What do you want?
My name is Sherlock Holmes. I'm assisting the police with their investigation of the crime that took place this evening.
Well, I've already gave my testimony, but very well.
Could you tell us everything that you may have seen or heard?
Yes. I was selling my flowers as usual, and then the fireworks began, in honour of Queen Victoria. I enjoyed those. But then, all of a sudden, a young lad ran out of Half Moon Street and stopped just by me. He had a gun in his hand. He was like a ghost, and all covered in blood. It was dark, but I could see him, because of the flashes from the fireworks.
And then?
I screamed as loud as I could. I knew that a policeman should be on duty in the vicinity. He had no time to escape. 2 constables got him. Then another constable came out from the very same street, and I heard him talking of a horrible murder.
Mrs. Powell, did you hear the gunshots?
I'm not sure. You know, what with the fireworks?
Did you see anyone else leaving Half Moon Street prior to or at the time of the crime?
No, sir, I did not. Even with all the fireworks, I was very attentive, as I'm always on the lookout for customers.
My thanks to you, Mrs. Powell.
Such a young man, and already a murderer.
This mirror is turned towards Half Moon Street. Locked. 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 Locked.
I'll do anything to save my brother, Mr. Holmes.
Mr. Turner, you have stated that you remained close by your window after the crime. Is that correct?
Oh, yes, Mr. Holmes. I stayed at my window until the policeman arrived to examine the dead bodies.
That is very interesting, Mr. Turner. Constable Marrow stated that he did not see anyone at the window when he was running through Half Moon Street.
Well, I think Constable Marrow and me, we might have been distracted by the whistles and shouts coming from Whitechapel. We could have missed each other somehow. You understand what I mean? It was a bit of a stressful moment, to tell you the truth, sir.
Allow me to form my own theories, Mr. Turner. Would you mind showing me the view that you had from your window?
Not at all, Mr. Holmes. Please, follow me.
Mr. Turner appears to live very modestly. The papers are almost entirely burned. I am unable to see what's written here. These words are illegible. This fire is dying out. It was last tended to over an hour ago. The papers were thrown into the fire just a short while ago. Mr. Turner was roused from his bed by the sound of gunshots. The books on this shelf are in a mess. It looks as though Mr. Turner was trying to find something in a hurry here a short while ago. A perfect match. So, Mr. Turner broke his stick when it became stuck between the cobblestones. He did not mention that he was so near to the victims. This kitchen knife is quite sharp. There are pieces of shredded paper scattered over the table. This kitchen knife was used to cut the paper. So, that's the view Mr. Turner had when he opened the window. The dead body of Kenneth Butler. Brian Vercotti's contorted corpse. Mr. Turner had a perfect view of the crime scene. He saw the bodies clearly, and Leighton Chapman standing over them. It didn't happen this way.
Anything else you would like to know, Mr. Holmes?
So Mr. Turner used a book to hide an object that he found on Kenneth Butler's body. The question is, what did he find? I can see prints from greasy fingers upon the cover of this book. Let us take a closer look. Well now, what a find! A precious jewel, concealed inside a book. A bracelet with a unique ram's head design, a distinctive feature of ancient Grecian artifacts, probably of the Hellenistic era. Mr. Turner, how would it be possible for a man of advanced years, such as yourself, to rush from his bed to the window in a matter of seconds, as you have stated?
Well, I'm able to move very quickly, despite my age. And when the situation requires it, Mr. Holmes. Well, I'm able to move very quickly, despite my age. And when the situation requires it, Mr. Holmes. Well, I'm able to move very quickly, despite my age. And when the situation requires it, Mr. Holmes. Well, I'm able to move very quickly, despite my age. And when the situation requires it, Mr. Holmes. Well, I'm able to move very quickly, despite my age. And when the situation requires it, Mr. Holmes. Well, I'm able to move very quickly, despite my age. And when the situation requires it, Mr. Holmes.
I highly doubt that, Mr. Turner. I observe that you suffer a severe limp due to your injured right leg. It would have taken at least 10 seconds for you to approach the window. That means you could have easily missed something or someone in Half Moon Street during that time.
You're right, Mr. Holmes. I could have missed something. But it did seem to me that everything happened so quickly. Time can pull tricks on you.
And what of everything else that you told us? Mr. Turner, it is vital that we have your complete and true statement.
Mr. Holmes, I do assure you that the other things I said were most sincere.
Mr. Turner, you were not sincere with me. Not then and not now.
But Mr. Holmes...
This, Mr. Turner, does not look like anything that a poor man might possess. It is worth more than the home that you live in.
I can explain.
No, merely correct me if I am wrong. You saw Leighton Chapman through the window, but you also noticed a glittering object on the ground, this precious jewel. You walked down and took the bracelet from the body of Kenneth Butler, and when you heard the whistles, you hurried away. That broke your walking stick. It caught fast between the cobbles. Constable Marrow was unable to see you in the window as you were climbing up the stairs on your way back to your flat. Upon returning home, you hid the precious jewel inside a book.
Mr. Holmes, please don't send me to prison. I didn't do anything bad. I'm just a poor man. When I chanced upon the bracelet, I saw it as an opportunity to make a little money. I was desperate. I only took the bracelet, that's all, I swear.
You made a mistake by lying to me. But you are not a criminal. I believe that. Although I must return this bracelet to its rightful owner.
It would be my pleasure to assist you with your investigation, Mr.
I'm always wondering what's on your mind, Holmes.